Okay, so one more video for tonight and then that's it. um, I have accepted that everything in my life happens for a reason, no matter what it is. And and that is, perceived good and bad, quote unquote. And I would say that there is no bad that happens in your life because the things that fall apart have to happen. Those things have to fall apart. The things you invest in or the things that you think are going to work and they don't. And I've had more of that than I've had of success, at least, so far. I can't talk. It would take an hour to like sit here and explain the list of things that I tried to do throughout my life that didn't work and just came apart at the seams. All that shit happened for a reason. Now that those things are over with and I look back on it, I see now why it happened. I get it. It's just in the moment I didn't because, like, I was all fucking caught up in it. But let me tell you, this is why this is kind of a gray area because this is kind of a gray area. So I'm not going to tell you that this is like some hard and fast rule that you can apply to everything and like this is the cold hard truth and an unshakable universal truth, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that. But from my point of view, in a lot of ways, there's reasons to not have to feel bad about things that don't work out. Because there are life lessons and things that have to be learned that come out of the shit that goes wrong, quote unquote. It's perceived as going wrong, but when you look at it from the outside or from a different point of view, you can look at it from a learning point of view, and you can see how the situation brought clarity or cleared the way. At least if it didn't bring clarity, it at least cleared the way for something else. If nothing else, if you can't pick apart a situation and like pull the lesson out of it, at least let yourself understand that it has allowed you an opportunity to open things up for something else. You can always look at that. Look at it that way. Even when Dad died, and I mean, that was the biggest catastrophe of my life, was burying my father. That was the biggest catastrophe of my life. All the other shit I've been through, no matter how bad I thought it was, none of it trumps having to bury him. So, but even then, and at the time I thought I was going to die. Even then, I would say that losing him forced me to learn how to do shit that I wouldn't have learned had he still been around, because he would have been helping me and doing things for me. Not in an enabling kind of way. Like, he wanted me to learn and be independent. He told me that quite often. It's just that he worked so much, we didn't have time to go over stuff. So it was, I never blamed him for that, because I knew what was in his way, and it was his work schedule. He worked every damn day. But even then, even losing him, and it was a hell of a trade, but I don't feel that it was quite an equal trade. Maybe one day I will. But losing him was the biggest cataclysmic thing ever. But after that, I thought, oh my God, I've got to figure this out. I've got to figure out everything. I was 23 years old. What the hell? What does a 23-year-old girl know? Nothing. Unless she's, done something useful, like grow up on a farm or something like that, and I didn't have any of that. I came from landowners and government officials. I didn't know shit about life. I had jobs and stuff, but it's like I didn't know about the world. It wasn't like that. So I had a lot to learn. I had my work cut out for me because, like, the faucet, was turned off, and I just thought, oh shit. So I was, really put through the ringer by life in a lot of, ways. I just had a lot of disappointment, and things that I had my heart set on just fell through like a wet floor. Just fell through. And, like over and over and over again. It was like no matter what I touched, and no matter what I tried to do, and no matter what I wanted, or no matter what I thought I was going to do with my life, it just came apart at the seams. And, I had to learn the same lessons over and over again. The same lessons about trust, the same lessons about my capabilities, and things that I could have done that I should have pursued and I didn't because I thought I couldn't. And just, I could go on all night. I'd have to save that for a fucking playlist on its own. Just a volume on its own. But what I'm trying to say is, think back on shit that has gone wrong for you. And just think back on some of that stuff. And think about what good came out of it, because there's a good chance at least one good thing came out of it. If not a new opportunity to do something else, maybe an empty house, which would, I imagine would lead to at least privacy or peace of mind or quietude, which you might need after a big blow up, or somebody dies who was maybe real sick for a long time, and you watch them decline and live in misery and stuff. And after they die, they're free from it, and you can exhale, and not have to watch that poor person suffer, for example, something like that. Just look for things. Look for what good came of it, or you learned a lesson. You learned a hard lesson. You might have had to learn it 10 times, but you finally learned it, because that's me. I had to learn shit 20 fucking times because I just didn't, I kept doing the same things over and over again. Mainly because I hated myself, and I didn't have any idea of protecting myself or giving myself a break, or exploring myself to see what I wanted from life, or all those kind of things. No sense of boundaries. I let people use me. All kinds of shit. It was awful. It was just really, I don't want to say pathetic, but I mean, because I don't typically look at anybody that way, not even myself, but just all the shit that went wrong and fell apart. There is always some good that comes of it. And even, losing a house, you have to relocate or whatever. You could relocate to a better neighborhood with better neighbors who might look out for you better. A different area where there's a better job, anything. But what I'm trying to say is, don't let it get you down. The catastrophe thing, don't let it get you. I know this is stupid, and don't let a catastrophe get you down. I know that's dumb, but what I mean is, it's not the end until it's the end, which is when you die. So you got time. If you're watching my video and you can still get up and do things and do shit with your life, you got time. There's still a chance. And another thing I'd like to add on to this, that I'm not ashamed to say, because I've had this feeling enough to know that I think it's okay to say it, and that is when something falls apart, more so for somebody else than for you, even though y'all were both involved, or y'all were all involved in something, and maybe you came out a bit less scathed than someone else in the situation. You cannot hate yourself or bury yourself in guilt for not feeling as hurt as the other person, especially when the entire time leading up to the explosive ending or whatever, you were miserable anyway. And then finally, when it's over with, you feel like you can finally breathe. And I'm saying that for a specific reason, and I will get to that some other time. I'm not going to explore that right now. We'll get to that later. But what I'm saying is, the things that fell apart that, look, let's take, well, a lot of stuff, but there was stuff that went wrong for me, went, that I thought went wrong for me that was really going wrong for the other person. And I'm not going to lie to you, it is usually boyfriends. It is usually men. When I separate from a man, um, it's when I do it, when I initiate, I definitely know that I'm going to come out better because I can breathe. I can breathe better. Um, and I always chose real controlling men because I thought that was how my life was supposed to be. So for the most part, a lot of my boyfriends were just, kind of rough, and then some of them were just kind of a little bit dumb. But I didn't pick anybody that was top tier, by any stretch of the imagination. I didn't pick anyone who would have turned heads or gotten attention or impressed people or anything like that, or anybody that I was, proud to be seen with in public. I didn't go after I didn't go after anybody. They came to me, but my point is, I didn't associate with men who were interesting or whatever. It just didn't happen. I didn't associate with them. I didn't have the confidence to even associate with anyone attractive, just physically attractive, let alone all the rest of it. Forget talent and success and intellect and spiritual um, aptitude or intuition or anything like that. I didn't let myself get around men like that. And um, so I really, when I chose, I chose poorly, and I chose below myself, and it hurt me in the end. I mean, like it well, excuse me, not in the end. In the end, when I got away, I did better than they did. I fared better than they did. But throughout, I was on the losing end, and then when I would get away, all of a sudden I was on the winning side. I was on the winning end. I was on the upper side of it because um, they benefited from being around me and showing me off in public and shit like that. And you know, I'm not trying to say I'm some kind of Greek goddess that's turning every head and launching 1,000 ships. I'm not. I'm not that. I don't see myself that way. But you know, I get enough attention from strange men that I know I'm still at least a little bit relevant. At least I'm at least a little bit relevant. At least on a good day, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm uh, anything special. Because to me, physically I've got a bit of work to do. But I do want to say that when you end it and you know that you're going to be doing better than the other person. Not that that was originally your intention, but you can see that that's actually going to be the final result. I don't want you to feel bad about that, because that's not, for lack of a better way to put it, and I don't want to sound like a bitch, but I have to be plain with you about this. That's not really your problem. I know a couple of friends. Well, I know one. Well, for one friend, one's an acquaintance, one's a friend. One is a friend, but I know somebody who, a couple who have been talking about divorce for a while, and they just can't seem to get there. They can't seem to do it because a lot of people are afraid because they're invested or whatever. And it's the same as all the rest of them. They're halfway through paying for a house, blah blah blah. Same old story. So it's like nothing specific to narrow it down or identify who it is. It's not that. It's but I mean, when I know when they split, when they do, because she's still pretty and smart and very successful in her business, and she doesn't need anybody. I'm telling you, she can just go buy her own house right now and call it a day. But when she leaves, he's screwed. Because he's losing his housekeeper and his cook and his apothecary and everything else. And, he's not going to find, I don't know if he's going to find somebody else that can fill that girl's shoes. Because they don't make them like that anymore. They're starting to pop up, but it's like, it takes long. It's hard to find somebody that can do all that. And he's, kind of average. There's nothing wrong with him, but he's just, his lifestyle and his ways and everything about him is a little bit average. So for him to snag somebody like that again, I don't know what it would take. And when she gets fed up for the last time, I'm like, I've talked to her a lot about it, but when she gets fed up for the last time and finally just says, okay, I'm finally ready, I'm going, she's going to win. But not just the court case and the custody stuff and everything else, but I mean, she's going to win. She's going to be the winner in that situation because she has everything she needs to take care of herself. She's got her own money. She comes from a good family. She's got good siblings and good relatives. I've met her family. Her children are great. And considering what's his name's history, he's going to be rock bottom. He's already got a little bit of a, not great background to start with and not good habits. And when he loses her, I don't know what's going to happen to him. I just don't. And I've told her a million times, you don't feel bad about it when you're finally ready to go. Don't feel bad about it because your mental health has to come first, and especially the children, and don't feel bad about it. He's going to have to learn. He's got a hard life lesson on the way. It's on the way. He's going to lose you. And when he does, it's going to be too fucking bad. So the times, that I have left boyfriends and an ex-husband, both of them, I didn't fuck around. When I know I've finally had all I can take, I'm done. And it's through my self-neglect, which the details of which will never be revealed from his mouth, and I'm not worried about it. Because I'll tell you fucking everything. I don't hide details about my struggles, about my life. I'm not going to do that. I don't have anything to hide. Yeah, I've got my private life. I've got people I talk to nobody knows about. I've got friends nobody knows about. I mean, I have my private life inside these walls, yeah. But when it comes to my coaching especially, I use myself as an example above all else. I use myself as an example. Why not? I got all kinds of shit I can use. I got all kinds of experiences I can talk about. Look, this one time I went through blah, 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 blah. Here's what I did. And I came out the other side. If I can do it, you can do it. That's my approach. And I may not have any, 10-year psychology degree. And I'm not going to apologize for that because to be honest with you, I don't think I need it. I haven't so far, and I've got people I'm helping right now. So it's like, it's not about that. It's intuition. And, this lady messaged me the other day and she was like, are your services Christian based? And I said, no, I use my intuition and my experience, and my common sense. And she just quit talking to me. So I've got a certain way I do I've got a certain way that I do what I do, and that's it. And I just go by the tools I have. And I've sure helped people like up until now. So far I have. So it's like I'm doing something right. But what I'm trying to tell you is that when your life shifts and towards the end of the shift, when things are starting to settle down into what the new phase is going to be, and you're starting to get a view of you can like see the horizon, I don't want you to feel bad about doing good things for yourself, or even just realizing that it might look like you're probably going to be doing better in the tail end of it. That you're going to be doing better in your life when it's all over with, because that's how I'm feeling, and that's how I've always felt. After some time went by, after getting a man out of my life, that I've realized, and I don't hate men. I'm not speaking from hatred. It's not that. Don't get it twisted. I quit hating men by the time I was probably 30. I think I had finally quit hating them because I just gave up. It was, you know what hurt me? It was my expectations. Just drop them. You're just gonna have to drop them. We'll get to that some other time. But and they say the same thing about us, and that's fine. You know, we're all attracting. Anybody who attracts trash is doing it because they think they're trash or they act that way. I don't want to say the word trash. It's stupid, but I mean, you get what I'm saying. You know, you are attracting people that are at your level, period. And it's some way or another, you know, whether you can see it right away or not, because I tell you what, sometimes you won't, and you'll feel bamboozled as fuck by the end of it, you know. I did. I felt like I was fucking hoodwinked many times. I just thought, you know, Jesus Christ, how did I let that happen? What the hell? How did I miss this? How did I miss this? You know, and that's happened with just about every single one of them, where I thought, how did I let that slide? And then at the same time, while you're asking yourself how the fuck you let it happen or how the fuck you let it go that far, they're sitting there talking to you like you're the replaceable one. If you know for a fact, I'm not trying to be a bitch, but I gotta be real with you. If you know for a fact that, especially in a friendship or a dating or marriage or a coworker thing or what have you, whatever your dynamic is with the other person, if you know in your heart of hearts, if you are, you know, in a place spiritually where you're humble, but you still know what you're worth, and you know in your heart of hearts that between you and the other person you're dealing with, that you are the more mature one, or the more ascended, or the more, you know, transformed or spiritually mature or mentally mature or whatever, you know you're on a little bit of a higher level in some way or another. You know that when the two of y'all part ways, that person's going to be on the losing end, because they need you, because you were the upgrade. You were the upgrade. And I'm not, you know, like I say, I hate to, you know, have anybody thinking that I'm just some egotistical bitch, you know, that thinks I'm better than everybody else on the planet, which is not the case. But I'm telling you, I'm starting to accept the reality that these clowns upgrade when they get around me, and they know it too, because they act fucking fearful. So I'm not stupid. I'm not blind. I can see how they're feeling, because they'll do dumb shit, and it'll be to cover up fear. I can smell it. So it's like, you know, don't try to act like you're some, you know, big bad whatever the fuck, you know, trying to tell me who I am and what I need to work on, because they'll do that. The person who's like on a lower rung than you will be the first one to tell you what you need to work on, and how much maturing you need to do. They'll be the first one to say it. And that's when you start, and they'll get comfortable talking to you too. They'll get real fucking comfortable and like say shit they shouldn't be saying. And like I say, they'll talk to you like you're replaceable, like you're the replaceable one, or like there's more of you, or like it's not going to matter later, or like it's not going to come back to them later somehow. Like it won't come up later at some other point, or it won't matter again. It's going to matter, because you're talking to me like a fucking idiot. And you're talking to me like there's 10 other girls just like me lined up behind me. And there's not. So instead of trying to cover up your fear, you need to humble your fucking self and talk to me like a fucking adult, so we can really sort this out. Because until you drop the pride and the fucking bullshit facade, you know, of a 17-year-old boy, we're not going to get anywhere. And then when they don't do that, and they refuse to do that, and they refuse to humble themselves and be honest with themselves, and then in turn being honest with you, that's when they lose you, because you get fed up with it. You get fed up with it. And that is why you cannot feel bad when you finally quit that job, leave that roommate, leave that a flat, move out to another apartment, find better roommates, find better friends, find a better boyfriend, find a better girlfriend, whatever, whatever. You don't get along with the teacher, the instructor, find a better class, whatever it is, whatever your deal is. Um, you know, you cannot feel bad about realizing that you've had enough of something. You cannot feel bad about realizing, well, hell, I'm just sitting here rotting away while this person's, you know, relishing in my glory, you know. And they'll never understand it. They'll never understand the things you say because they're not there yet. They think they are, but they're not. I had the boyfriend and I won't lie, I mention him a lot. I haven't mentioned his name because I don't want to, because I just don't want to. But there's no reason to. I mean, fuck it. But I tell stories about him and about me and him a lot because he did so much damage to me, and I had to learn so much about myself through fucking with him. So he comes up a lot in my information when I'm trying to tell things. So when I tried to break up with him a handful of times, and he wouldn't let me, and I let him not let me because I hated myself and I thought I couldn't do better. So I let him push me into staying. That's how bad it was. But anyway, so when other women tell me about that, I know exactly what they're talking about because they'll intimidate us. On top of being 3 times our size, that they'll intimidate us and make us think that not only are we in physical danger if we try to get away, but if we do try to get away, our life will never be as good with whoever comes next or whatever, and that's like, and women are already brought up thinking that anyway. So that's a whole other fucking psychological issue to start. Like, I'd have to save that for another day. But when I did, one day I got the courage. One day I got the courage to break up with him, and it took me almost a year to do it, because that was a rough year. That was rough. But there came a day when I finally did it. And it was too, because it was like right before Valentine's Day too. And I hadn't planned on it like that. I don't give a fuck about Valentine's Day. I never have. My quote unquote love life has been so unstable all these years. I always had somebody, but it was never anybody, stable or permanent or worthwhile, for lack of a better way to put it. And I called him. He had already pushed into my life to the point where he was living in my family home with me because he didn't want to go home to his wife, who I didn't know he was still married to. But alas, so while he was still at work one afternoon, I called him. And and that was like an hour and a half of anguish of us going back and forth about whether or not I was really going to, be able to break up with him. And I did, and he was in such a rage. I don't know if I have any I don't know if there's any words I know in my language to properly describe or assign to his behavior and how he must have been feeling. The pure loss of control, just utter loss of control of me, because I came to my fucking senses, and they don't like that. Because every time a woman comes to her senses with somebody like that, she realizes she doesn't need him, and then she just goes off on her own, like living her life alone. Because I don't need that. I don't need you. What are you doing to enrich my life? What are you doing to make it better? So you pay my phone bill. Okay. I can ship $40. What? And when you hit that point, is when you're going to finally say, okay, I'm ready to go. You're finally going to say, I'm ready to get out of this, and you'll pack your shit and very quickly and quietly go. Well, you may not go quietly, but I mean, there might be a explosive argument, but I'm saying you're going to get out of there fast because you're going to realize, greener pastures lie ahead. And there may not be a man in that, but it won't matter, because getting a replacement isn't going to be on the list. It's just going to be getting away from him and getting peace of mind. And in my case, I had to do that. Well, anyway, so after I did that phone call with him, that dreaded phone call, my heart was racing at the end of it when I hung up with him, because I was so wound up, because it was so hard to get rid of him. And it took months to get rid of him. I had to go to the courthouse for it and everything. That's how bad it was. He wasn't the only one I had to do that with. He was just one of the more recent ones. But so I had to block him on everything, because he was the one who copied and pasted that whole paragraph where he just tore me apart and told me how awful I was, and I was just a selfish bitch, and I didn't appreciate anything, and he treated me better than everyone else, and that's just something they all, forgive me, but you're going to hear that from a lot of mouths. Well, I treated you so much better than all the fucking rest of them. How the fuck could you do this to me? Hang on. So, but he was doing that, and I've heard that spiel before, so that didn't mean anything to me at that point. Sadly, unlike him, I had dated a lot, and I had heard a lot of the stuff out of the book, so that didn't faze me, because I knew I could turn around the next week and get another boyfriend, and I didn't. I focused on work at that time. I went back to doing my jewelry and worked at the funeral home, so my time and my energy was full, but I had blocked him on everything, and I had forgotten to block him on my Yahoo email. And he emailed me on my laptop, and said, well, it was a paragraph, as it usually was, when he was angry, But the only thing I remember that he said was, "You're not near as powerful as you think you are." Lamal, we'll see. Well, come to find out, like I say, he got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I know the update on his condition and the shape he's in, because he published it somewhere. So I know how he's doing now. It's not good. And I'm doing much better, much better than he is. He had to hurry up and get married real quick after that, because he needed a nurse, because he had already been diagnosed. So he knew he was sick, and me and him had talked about getting married, and so I was going to end up being his nurse for the rest of his life, however long that was supposed to be. And then that went awry for him, and he had to turn around and get somebody else real quick. God bless that girl, whoever she is. But I'm aware of that, and the shape he's in, and so I still win in a lot of ways. I still won. All those situations where they had me thinking, because I hated myself and I didn't know who I was, and they had me convinced, and this is extremely common. They'll get somebody who's like a fucking diamond, but a diamond who doesn't see that she's a diamond. And they'll eat that with a silver spoon, because they'll get her and make her see, and make her understand, or make sure that she remembers that her life would be nothing without him. And I've played this song, I've participated in this song and dance many times, so I know exactly what the goddamn drill is. I know what the pattern is, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Y'all know that I know that every man on the fucking planet doesn't pull this shit. I'm aware of that. But girls that hate themselves pull these motherfuckers in, because they can smell it. They can smell your self-hatred. And this is why you keep pulling in assholes. It's because you hate yourself. And they know it. They can smell it the way a dog can smell the iron in your blood. So, just like after you break up with somebody and then men start coming out of the woodwork. I told that to a guy friend of mine one time, that was what was happening to me, and he was like, "Miranda, they can smell it." He wasn't kidding. That man, he was a good friend to me. I miss him, but I moved away. But he wasn't kidding. I mean, they come out of the goddamn woodwork. But alas, so they pick up on your um, unsteady foundation, and they get under there, and they don't reinforce it, but they just get under there, and they just tell you stuff, and it echoes within your walls, and it seeps into the walls, and it echoes throughout each room. And you get to a point where the echo starts to rot. And then the walls start to rot. And then finally the foundation starts to rot. And then when you can feel yourself coming down like the Twin Towers, because you and the Twin Towers are both a demolition. That's demolition. But anyway, alas, I digress. We'll save that for another time. But you know, you're coming down layer by layer, just collapsing. And then finally, when you're a pile of dust, and it's just like floating around, and he's standing over you, reminding you once again, you know, that you're just the pile of dust. Something happens in that dust. And out of nowhere, seemingly, a phoenix just comes tearing out. And it just goes straight up to the sun. And then it comes back down, shining in a blazing glory, as does the sun. Like it's picked it up on the way and come back. And then it swoops back down. And then it just does whatever you want it to do after that. Whatever you imagine it doing. It's what it does next. Because that's you getting the fuck out of there. That's you realizing you've had enough, and that it's history. It's over with. And he's going to be running in circles, screaming and crying, talking about, how could you do this? I've been so good to you, blah, blah. Yeah, but I'm about to be about 10 times better to myself. Because I'm not going to let this continue, because I don't need this. I don't need it. And that's it. So when I say that you get out of a situation where you can really clearly see that you are either, well, if you're in this, if you can see that you're in the right, and you really and truly have not, you know, committed some terrible sin against that person, and you haven't, you know, at least intentionally tried to ruin their life or any of that bullshit. When you have really, like, done your best for that situation and done what you could, and you just can't do any more. You've done your best with it. And it's time to go. It's just time. You cannot feel guilty about getting your head above water and taking a breath of air. You just can't feel guilty. Why? Why? And you especially can't feel guilty, not just for leaving, but especially, you know, when a little bit of time goes by, and like I say, the dust settles, and, you know, and things kind of like return to normal, at least for you, and you really start to see that you got the upper hand and you fared better after it was all over with, you've done better for yourself than they could do for themselves, because they lost you. They lost you. So, oh, that's over with, and they may or may not be able to replace you. To be honest and to be plain with you, that's really not your problem. You can't babysit that situation anymore. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a boyfriend. It can be a job where everybody was using you and you just got tired of it and left. If it's a clinic or, a retirement home or a daycare or something where there's, innocent people involved that were benefiting from your help or something, no matter what it is, you can't let yourself feel bad about it. They'll find somebody else. It doesn't mean that person will be as good as you, but they'll find somebody else. There's always, the world is just shifting all the time. There's always going to be somebody else lined up ready to take that position. Whether it's employee, roommate, girlfriend, whatever. There's always going to be somebody else who can come in and fill that space, just maybe not in the same way, maybe not as well. So you can't beat yourself up about like leaving a vacuum, in the space. Just you're being forced to choose your well-being or someone else's. What's it gonna be? So keep that in mind. When you start feeling bad, or if the people who lost you start saying, well, you, blah, 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 blah. Well, now, hang on now. Hang on. I had to put my mental health first for once. So I can't feel bad about this. I've got to move on to bigger and better things. Do you want your life to improve or not? It's yes or no. What's it going to take to improve? Leave that situation behind. Okay, do it. Who are you living for here? Who are you living for? Are you living for you or those motherfuckers? Pick one. So you can't feel guilty about some bullshit, about leaving something behind. I would tell this to anybody. I mean, I just would. If the tables were turned and it was the other way around, and, my ex-husband was the one trying to get away from me and trying to get away from the situation and couldn't wait to restart his life, I would tell him, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. Go live your life. I would say that. I'd call him right now and tell him, except I think his feelings are so fucking hurt, he's not talking to me, so I'm just going to let it go. I'm not going to say anything. But I mean, I would tell anyone that. You can't feel bad. Because guilt, especially, in my humble opinion, unfounded guilt, that can really take it out of you. I have grown up watching people who, just put on the mantle of guilt, like a fucking ermine, and the guilt crown, and just walk around and live their life that way, always feeling bad about some fucking shit. You don't have to. You don't have to. Give yourself a fucking break. You left a situation because it fucking felt bad. It hurt. It was painful. And there was no fixing it. And you had to put your mental health and your emotional health or your physical health first. Or your spiritual health. Whichever. Pick one. All of them. I got to where that last couple months, I got to where I was drinking to forget. And I have never, ever done that. Never. Not like that. Never. So I knew it was time to go. Fuck a break. It was time to go. But I didn't decide it was time to go until I finally blew up because he was talking to me like I was fucking replaceable. And I'm not. And I finally know that about myself. All these fucking years, I've hated my motherfucking ass. I've hated myself. For what? For what? Look how much energy I wasted on fucking hate myself. Bitch, why? 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 What for? Hate myself? Shit. What have I done? What have I even done to people? Fucking nothing. All I do is mind my own fucking business and keep my head down and try to do shit I'm supposed to do every day and take care of people and do the right things for people and say the right things and, you know, keep my money right and buy groceries and you know, make sure the cars have gas in them and everything else and clean and shit. What am I doing in my life where I deserve to hate myself so much? How have I been so awful that I should hate myself? I dare say I really don't think I have. I just don't think so. And I've finally accepted that. Ask the people who have known me. Well, you can ask people who have known me for years, but you can also ask the people who have known me online for like 3 months. Because I interact with fucking everybody on there. People who have talked to me publicly or privately will tell you I'm, you know, hopefully at least that I'm at least a mildly good ass person. I don't have any fucking dark agenda. I don't have any sinister hidden purpose. It's not there. Go look at all my other videos and read all my other shit I've ever written. I'm doing my best to be as sincere as fucking possible with y'all because, like, I don't believe in fucking around and having a facade or any of that bullshit. We got enough fake shit in the world. We got enough of that. So I'm trying to be, you know, upfront with people. So after I thought about it, I was like, you know, I got to think about my life and think about where I've screwed up so bad and I've abused people so badly that I should hate myself. I haven't, so I shouldn't. And I want people to think about that when they sit there and be like, I'm worthless. Who taught you that? Who taught you that? Because I don't think you are. So I'm just passionate about that because, like, it's not fair to you to be sitting there telling yourself that when that's not true. That's not even true. What the hell? So that's what I'm saying when I say that you're leaving a situation, and if you know deep down in your soul, in your heart of hearts, if you know that they're losing something good and you're not, and you can go and live your life in a different way and be just fine, and or live your life in a different way and then replace those people with someone better or a better situation or a better job or a better apartment or better whatever the fuck it is, whatever the switch up needs to be, you know, there's no reason to feel bad about that. There's no reason to feel bad about it. What have you done except taking care of yourself? People feel so guilty about shit these days. Oh, I shouldn't do that. That's not fair to so-and-so. That's not... Okay, yeah, but so-and-so's going to live regardless. They're going to live. And then when they really get their feelings hurt, they're going to insist that if you leave, they're going to be just fine without you. Because I've heard that too. More than once. I've heard that. You know, I've heard it from jobs. I've heard it from boyfriends. I don't care. Come to find out that they weren't, quote, just fine without me. That's not how that works, but whatever. But I don't feel bad about saying that. And I don't feel bad about thinking highly enough of myself that I was a good part of their life. Because I was. Now that I look back and, like, I'm honest with myself about who the fuck I am, I look back, I'm like, you know what? No, I was a good part of that person's life because I did whatever they wanted. And I put them first. And they weren't used to that. I destroyed myself in the process, just about. And they'll be the first ones to be like, well, nobody's going to goddamn treat you as good as I did. No, that's the other way around. Nobody's going to treat you as good as I did, because other people who have more confidence in themselves are going to smell your shit a mile away, and they're going to run a lot sooner than I did, because I didn't have the sense to. So actually, I treated you better than you'll probably ever find again. Because I put you before me. So you've got that backwards. And deep, deep down, they know that. That's why they say that shit. That's why they say that. Because they know it's the opposite. They know that you're the best they're ever going to have. But to cover that up, they turn it. I've seen this a million times. I've done that song and dance so many times, y'all. I'm telling you, that's how it goes. It's just how they do. It's just how people do. It's all they can do to like switch it, make you think the opposite, when really, if you listen to what they say and try to line it up with what they're doing, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Because what they're doing is acting from fear, and then what they're saying is coming from cockiness, which comes from fear. So that's all you gotta do is listen to what they say and turn it around and it'll match exactly what the fuck they're doing. That's it. I mean, there can be more to it, but I mean, you know, when it comes to simple shit like a breakup or something, it's easy psychology. It's easy. Especially when you've done it 10 fucking times and you know what the pattern is with you and the other party, you know. I'm sorry this is a long video. I didn't intend to drag it out this long, but there's just this has to be said. This kind of shit has to be said. And I think it's fair for people to have somebody be honest with them and tell them the truth, and especially tell them that it's okay to not feel bad about some shit that went awry, or so it seems it went awry. It didn't go awry for you, because if you're, you know, the I don't want to say better quality person, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. If they're the one that benefited from the dynamic, and you're aware of that, just you know, you can just like quietly know that you're gonna be at the top when it's over, and that's it. And you can't feel bad about that. You can't feel bad about being the better person, like the better caliber person or whatever. You can't feel bad about that. You've made the choice to be a good person. You've made the choice to be who you are. Those were choices. So you were mature. That's something to feel bad about. You know, they need to feel bad about wasting your time, if any fucking thing, but I mean, whatever. So I'm going to leave it at that, because this is kind of long. I wasn't trying to drag it out like that, but that had to be said. So when the shift comes, go with it. Go with the shift, and don't feel guilty about doing yourself a fucking favor and improving your life however you need to do it. You need to quit that job, go somewhere else. It's a kid's clinic. They've only got 2 people working there. You got to go. Whatever. I've seen people do that. When I worked at the heart clinic, this girl came from a children's clinic, and they were raging when they found out she was planning on quitting. She left anyway because she found something better. Shit happens. You got to look out for you. You know, if the parents are taking the kid to the doctor to start with, they'll find another doctor. It's the ones sitting at home that don't make it to the doctor that you got to worry about. You're not going to see them in any clinic, no matter where you work. So why does it matter where you quit? For example. So I'm going to leave it at that. But thank you for listening. I hope that helps. I hope that helps you feel better, because you deserve to feel better about your life and about your situation, and you deserve to have some direction and feel solid and grounded in your decisions and what you do. And you know, you deserve to feel like it's safe to make the next move without worrying about hurting somebody or whatever. You know, because you either can continue to hurt you or hurt them. And sadly, sometimes you just have to make that choice. Who are you willing to save? Yourself or them? And that's it. So please don't feel bad about trying to make your life better. You gotta do it. So thank you for listening. I hope that helps.